I'm gonna call this meeting of the Public
Are-
Health
are you
and
guys
Safety
starting
Standing
recording?
Committee,
Yeah.
to order October 22nd. Oh, okay, so we had the
2 minutes.
meeting minutes from September 24th.
Okay. Did we send those out right after the meeting?
We did. I have a copy here. Doug, did you have a chance to read those over?
Yes, I did.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. And last night, Jody sent us the ones from the last meeting. And did we all have a chance to look them over? I did, and they look good to me.
Okay. If anyone has anything they'd like changed on it?
What do we have here? Okay, that's something I have.
That's for later.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay.
So are those approved then, the October 18th minutes?
Yes. Is it the 18th?
The 8th.
The 8th, yeah. So we've got both September 24th and
And
October 8th. Chief Schrock,
Mm-hmm.
we have any updates?
No, currently at 120 calls for service this month, and, I did some navigating around the grant website. The city currently has one in for, the John Byrne Foundation, I believe.
And what's that one for?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's for an extra officer. I may be mistaken. Yeah. So yeah, it was on the dashboard. I just started navigating around yesterday with my signing credentials, and that's what I saw.
And that's Lexipol?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep, and then, as it sits, that's pretty much it right now.
So did you submit the grant, or you're just looking into the grant?
It looks like it was submitted on the dashboard.
Oh. So are we going through them then, through Lexipol? I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like contract, like,
Yes.
so they will, because last time you said they could do up to 3 grants for us a year.
That's it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's currently 2 in there right now.
Okay.
That I saw.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any update on maybe a school resource officer grant?
No, nothing right now. Yeah, I read it.
I was gonna say, I have one to share, but the short version is, does not look like it's happening this year. They're hung up over the dollar amounts, and so we basically said, we'll resume conversations, but what we're not able to do, because we don't have the funding, is say, yeah, we'll do it and we'll pay for all of it. And they had a couple of concerns, from the comment, well, we'll schedule a meeting in the future. He hasn't given us a date, he just said, let's schedule a meeting in the future. But it very much read with, we're not gonna be moving forward this year. And one of the things that I understand, Chief Schrock and I have both talked to members of the board, and one of the things that has come up is they have some concern, which I don't put a lot of stock in, of, well, we're comparing what teachers make to what officers make, and how do we spend this much money on officers when we really need to pay our teachers more, and they're commingling those ideas that really don't have anything to do with each other.
Right.
In fact, I think Chief Schrock has even pointed out that they have some dollars that are specifically set aside for that purpose, and they can't be used, but it was kind of a, well, we don't think officers should make this if our teachers make this conversation, but then it translated to, we just don't have the money, or we don't want to spend forward with the money for it. So.
I know you can't tell them what to do, but has anyone mentioned to them that there's tons of grant money out there for school resource officers?
They
probably
have,
wouldn't
and
have
they're
them.
aware, but there's also the concern with an ongoing, a grant pays for it for this year, what do you do the next year? What my read on it is that there's some posturing going to, he had previously mentioned, well, Columbus only pays 40%. And so I think there's some posturing going on, and I have remained steadfast in our position of, this is what we can do, this is what is approved in the budget.
Yeah.
And if you want to move forward with what we agreed to previously, we are more than happy to do so. but in the meantime, we remain available to talk if you want to. So that's where it's left right now.
So
Well,
what is it, call us when you have a shooter?
Pardon?
What are they supposed to do?
Well,
You know?
So
I mean,
without being dramatic, I mean, it's not that we ignore our schools, and in
No, of
fact,
course
they had a false alarm a couple of weeks ago where somebody tripped it, and the response was exceptional.
Oh, I bet.
They had police there within just a couple
well,
of minutes.
and the police
Yeah.
also had a very significant event up there, drugs, the other day.
So, yeah, there's
Heard it on down low from all the high school.
like I said, my
kids
read
love
on it from a negotiator standpoint is everybody agrees they want it. They're just trying to get blood from turnip, and we don't have any blood in our turnip, and so
And they
Yeah.
don't, apparently don't either, or they feel they don't.
I just think it's,
I don't, my gut feel is not, my gut feel is, based on conversations with the chief, is not that they don't have the resources available to do it. They just don't want to commit those resources. They'd rather us commit our resources.
I know.
That's really my feel.
I just think it's sad because we're reacting instead of being proactive. And
That's my concern.
And I'm not, it's not even necessarily about the school shoot, it's about the drugs, and it's about the, you know, just the count, you know, having the police being part of the culture there as a resource.
And
Yeah.
Chief Schrock and I have talked about how to have an increased presence without having an SRO.
Yeah.
But that was yesterday that we got the response from him back. And-
Oh, yeah.
So we just finally got an official response from him back yesterday saying, we're not moving forward at this time, but so what I'm filling it in is with the data that I've had with him and with board members in the meantime. And the short version is, not at this time, but let's resume the conversation
Yeah.
so we're ready for next year. And I reiterated in that response, I'm still working on making sure we have funding for our base force
Yeah.
next year and beyond, because I need for them to understand that we're not being hard-nosed. We have a real legitimate concern. And their mills, by the way, are not floating mills. So when the value of a mill went up, they're flush with cash and have more cash than ever, versus ours goes down, theirs goes up. And so that's frustrating to me, but I also, as
But,
Jody said, I'm not the boss of them.
right, exactly.
You know
Yeah.
what, I kind of understand they're a school board, their first priority is teaching and teachers. And this seems like, I'm guessing, to them, that this is just extra, not as needed as teachers.
And that's exactly in line with the feeling I got.
They're a school board.
And they were making a comparison, which I put no stock in, which is, we compare what an officer costs compared to what a teacher costs.
Yeah,
And that's like saying, I
Apples and
want to
bananas.
pay the head of
But-
our public works director the same amount I pay somebody who's gonna go around and water trees, or, you know, it's just,
Yeah, that's what I'm
different jobs have different
Yeah.
pay scales, and that's what the market dictates.
Well, and that's just it, I mean, I know they pay their principal more than they pay a teacher. So it's apples to oranges, the school resource officer versus, it's apples to oranges
yeah,
on the job responsibilities and the pay scale,
But
so.
I also,
I get it.
we can't push them down that path.
No, I know
We
you can't.
remain open and willing to negotiate and talk, but we have let them know the financial limitations. Commissioner Bullock makes a comment all the time, he talks up there, he says, well, in a way, we kind of have it easy at the county, we can only do what we can afford to do, and the rest we can't do.
Yeah,
And I think that kind of applies to here. We can't afford, from a city perspective, to hire an extra officer and pay for all of it and give it to them. We're still having very real conversations about how do we afford our existing staff going forward. So we'll have that follow-up conversation with them, but the short version is, I don't anticipate that's coming up this year. Now, it could still change, because as we get further and further in the year, maybe halfway through the year, they can spend half the money and just spend it in half the year instead. So, well, like I said, it's just mostly dead, as Billy Crystal would say. It's not all the way dead, but for now, it's kind of what we've thought it was going for the last couple of times.
yeah. We kind of saw that writing happening.
So is there anything else that we can do to make it happen, actually look into grant
Nothing,
funding, or no, just leave it this way?
nothing at this point until, I mean, we can continue to look at our grants and stuff and do so.
Yeah,
But, and as I look at that open staff position, which is kind of more of an admin and finance thing, but I'm kind of narrowing down what that staff position is gonna look like, because we have an open staff position
right.
that we can hire for the city. And grants is definitely one of those skill sets that I
I
wanna pick up.
Think it would,
Um,
absolutely, I think I think it's a requirement, not like, oh, well, I'll learn it later. I think it needs to be a requirement of that position, because I think we're gonna need to start relying more and more on grant funding to fill these
Augment
holes
our
in our
budget.
budget. Yeah, to fill these holes in our budget.
well, and that's, I think we take advantage of every grant we have, but if we ever get to the point that we're relying on grants for our base budget, we're in trouble.
Because
we
they
can
don't
use
last
them.
every year.
We can use
Well,
them for
no, I get
water,
that.
sewer, roads,
But
project-based stuff.
But there's a lot of grant funding out there for police, and there's, you know, there
It's
really
just
is.
that they don't last forever.
And public safety, and I understand that, but there's usually another one out there that you can go. It's a constant, I mean, that's how, the Community Foundation, the Roosevelt Center, their whole model is going after more and more grants.
Yeah.
So, same with DSVS, they fund their whole organization just about.
So
with grants.
anyway, that's the update on that, is that we have a request for a future conversation, but no dates were provided, and we have indicated we're happy to continue those conversations, but the limitations we have are still real and they still exist.
Yep, I understand, it's disappointing.
Yeah, it is disappointing. Have we done anything else about additional stop signs, or,
Right now, I'm gonna wait until Mike they have pretty much a quarter of Red Lodge torn up, so I'm gonna wait when he has
Yeah.
some free time, because I know that he's those guys are kind of burning the candle at both ends. So as soon as an opportunity.
As soon as we get 6
As soon
feet
as
of
it
snow,
snows.
you'll have lots of time, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I started thinking about that intersection there, Babcock and Miles and the
Post office.
post office. And frankly, all you really need to do is paint, yellow lines on each of those corners,
White line.
whatever, to say that don't park here. There's no
Oh,
parking.
the
I think we could get away with paint, since there aren't really curbs there to do yellow. I think that you can do paint.
You think people would adhere to that?
I think it makes
Do they?
I think,
Broadway.
It depends on, that'll change a little bit when winter gets here and they're covered, but.
Yeah,
But state law also says you don't park next to intersections, and
yeah, I mean, it is a state law, I still think it's a great,
What we do on Broadway is we have the yellow paint, and then we have some signs too, so essentially, no parking beyond this.
Yeah, I guess the combination.
yeah.
Yeah, it does help in the winter, I'd say.
yeah, 'cause once
Good.
the snow's there, it's all covered up,
Sure.
so you need the signs, so.
Yep.
That was weird.
so there's still a list of
Election office.
things that you guys have put, but like I said, yeah, we're trying to get our roads put back together before winter right now, in this rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just put that off until
No, that's
This-
fine.
next May, probably.
I don't think it'll be that long realistically, but I think there's some things we can do in the meantime that.
Okay, so, we're gonna go on to the review of the dog,
And then-
municipal
MOU.
code, of course.
So, what I had, was to get the MOUs with Grizzly Peak. I still do not have the MOUs, from either VAP, but I was able to get the one that's from BHA. So what you have is a blank copy that was March 11th, actually, I could have skipped that one because we have the executed copy that Bill Larson signed in 2020. And then I also have the copy of what they have, with the Carbon County Sheriff. My goal, so first off, there's a couple of realities around dogs, and Chief Schrock and I were to get together and talk about this, a little bit independently, and we'll just do it here in open instead. We've talked very little, but my goal is to get on parity with where the county is. So first off, dogs are very much something in my mind that falls under that public health and safety umbrella.
Yeah.
What the county has, and it is, represented a little bit in this agreement, that what happens is, so there's two problems. How do you get a dog to the vet? And their preference is that, they just, when somebody calls the county or dispatch, they have a standing order with dispatch that applies to the county right now. The city does not have anything. So the city, they just say city doesn't do anything, and I don't think that's the appropriate answer.
No.
But what the county says is, get the dog to the vet. They either take it to Grizzly Peak or they take it to, is it
Red
Bear
Lodge,
Tooth?
Red Lodge Animal Hospital.
Well, there's a Red Lodge and there's
One,
the Butte one is where they take it to.
That's their too.
Yeah, that's Beartooth, not Red Lodge.
Yeah.
just, north of Cold Drive on 78.
Yeah.
That fits both of them.
That's the
One is
old-
on
that's
one
the
side
old
and
view.
the one's on the other.
That's the old view.
Casey is Red Lodge, and I think they do both
Not
the
anymore.
horses, and then Butte is the one on the right, next to the pot shop.
Yeah, we lost Casey the other day, so,
And no.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
I'm aware.
having MOUs with them might not be viable at this
For a
time,
while.
but the other two, yeah.
Yeah, so the other two is what we had. So what they have is, that the key behind it is that they have an agreement with each of those vets, and Josh was gonna send them to me, and the vets were gonna send it to me, and I don't have it from any of them yet. But it, basically what it says is, we will make sure that they are made whole for maintaining an animal for 3 days if necessary. So what happens is, we have somebody go turn their animal in at one of those vets. The reason Beartooth is there is because they have some pens that the sheriff and stuff have access to at night, so they can go put them in at night from the outside. What happens 99% of the time is, if the owner is identified, they go pick up their dog, and it's basically the equivalent of getting their dog out of impound, so they pay the vet fees.
Right.
But in order for them to take the animals, they basically have an agreement with the cities or the municipalities, in this case the county, that the county says, if they don't, we will pay you for 3 days of board, and then from there, it goes over to BHA. And then BHA takes it in and does what they do. The county budget, which they have not spent, is $2,000 a year. And so they don't have a need to do that, because most people pick it up and it's their own animal.
What if the animal is injured?
So they had a case where there was an animal that was injured. The owner showed up and said, never mind, we're not gonna reclaim the animal. At 3 days, it went to BHA, and BHA paid for all of the surgery and all of the care, and the animal did not go back to the same owner. So what I would like to propose, even though we're not there yet, is, and I think we have 500, so we actually have, as we looked at our budget in the vet, there's a line item called vet, and we were kind of wondering, why is that? Because we have a service dog, but the whole marketing thing we've heard from the beginning of time is that's gonna all be handled through either donations and or the drug forfeiture to do that. That vet line, which we currently have $500 in, was actually set up for this purpose.
To pay for 3 days?
Well-
Now, we also have in our ordinances, by the way, we have in our ordinances that we can attach it and put it on their taxes. But
I
that
saw that.
requires that A, we identify the owner, and B, that they have property. If it's a renter, there's nothing we can do.
It's a rarity that it comes to that, to where we can't identify the owner and the city assumes responsibility for the bill. We have
Right.
methods to locate the owner. People in Red Lodge are pretty attached to their dogs, rightfully so. And, what we do is we have city county dispatch put it out on their social media, and normally within 20 minutes, people communicate pretty closely with each other about that
They
stuff.
do.
Around here, we identify the owner, they either pick the dog up or they're,
Yeah, it's just those cases where I think sometimes dogs get dumped
I
out there.
haven't had one.
How, you really?
Personally, have not had one where we either cannot identify the owner, or,
Yeah.
so like, when I budget for it, it's one of those things where it's like, well, I don't wanna go over budget on it, and I also don't want to request too much. It's kind of like being asked to gamble on what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but,
Definitely.
like I said, it's incredibly rare that we don't locate an owner. VHA does in fact take custody of the dog and then put it up for adoption
So,
for us.
I mean, I guess, another step, I think this is a great first step because there's some consequences there, like if they have to pay for a boarding fee for their animal.
Sure.
But I mean, I'd also at the same time like to see that, you know, they get warnings for dog at large, or they do get a dog at large ticket, you know, that kind of gets more enforced.
Mhm.
And the business, and the pet license fee, you know, just, I just think that if we start enforcing what we have on the books and then have this as our backup, maybe people will start making sure their dogs don't get out all the time.
And then the other
There's
thing.
some consequences there, you know, financial pocketbook consequences.
And then the other thing that we've got on that is, there's a barking that's like, it's, incessant barking is deemed as like
20 minutes.
20 minutes,
in it,
more
within an
than
hour.
an hour. And I wanted to talk to the chief because, basically what's gonna happen is we're gonna be writing it, that puts them in a position of writing a ticket because the neighbor says that dog has been barking for 20 minutes. Because I do not anticipate it's a practical situation that we're gonna have an officer go out and sit outside the house for 20 minutes and say,
No, but.
that dog is barking for 20 minutes and
But
they're
but
barking
it's also,
outside.
the first offense there is a warning, like the officer, according to the ordinance, they go talk to him, they give him a warning and say, hey, your neighbors are complaining because your dog's barking incessantly, you know, and so here's your warning, please, you know, and then if they get called back again. Honestly, I have the opposite, where most neighbors don't want to call the police, and it's got to be pretty bad before they actually call the police. Is what, you know, I mean, what I'm
Yeah,
hearing. I mean,
one-
yeah, you kind of put up with a lot.
One thing I would like to encourage the public to do is, if you're comfortable talking to your neighbors,
Yeah.
please do that. I had somebody in here yesterday talking to me about a parking complaint, and he was the property owner, and his tenant was parking, like, in the middle of the alley. And he said, I don't wanna make drama, but I want a police report. I'm like, have you tried talking to him? Well,
Yeah.
no.
I know.
Let's,
Yeah,
I mean, like,
sorry.
we will do our job,
But I also think there's a certain, when you look at the services that you provide as a city, one of the services that we provide, like it or not or otherwise, and I'm not saying it always works, but we provide the ability to go talk to that neighbor as opposed to create conflict between neighbors.
Third party.
And that doesn't mean that there's not conflict when you call the cops on it, but, and the other thing we have to remember is that all of these are gonna be prioritized. So
Oh, yeah, no,
hear
I
you,
understand that.
I hear you saying, hey, we want our officers to write appropriate tickets for this, that, and the other, and I have zero qualm with relaying that guidance on to the chief, to relay on to his team, but I also know that those things fall below drug cases
Oh, yeah,
or weapon
absolutely.
cases
It-
or
it's
domestic
The
violence
same with fireworks
or-
on the 4th of July. We all
Yeah.
understand that, but at the same time, it's just, you know, I especially, I've just been hearing a lot of feedback from my constituents, and me personally, being woke up at 4 AM all summer long with a dog that gets let out, and
there's
it
different
barks
ordinances
constantly.
that are there that I think
But
are a little easier
it barks
to
constantly
enforce,
from
so.
4 to 6 AM, and then he lets the dog in when he goes to work. And you're just like, you know, I don't like getting up at 4 AM. I'm like,
Call the chief, he's up.
but you don't know, but honestly, you don't know where that dog is. Because in the summertime, we all sleep with our windows open, and unless I get up and
Yeah.
try to find the dog at 4 AM, it's really hard to know which dog's out there barking.
Yeah, it's difficult. The thing with those middle of the night calls too, where dogs are barking for long periods of time,
Yeah,
we'll go over and there won't be anybody home.
yeah, they just leave their dog out.
Which is
Uh-huh.
not good pet ownership, but.
No, I mean, you feel bad for the dog, it's telling you it wants in. I'm like-
It's afraid, it's afraid.
Yeah,
It's
they're-
Well, yeah, I mean, like, we have
Yeah.
some predators lurking around in the,
Yeah.
Don't we,
in
though?
the woods and stuff like that, so I feel a little
So,
nervous
I mean,
too.
like it or not, unfortunately, I mean, that is, we have an ordinance on the books, and
Yeah.
if we have, you know, we do
Yeah, if it does happen, I seriously encourage you to call
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah.
We'll,
So we don't have I had talked to, Commissioner Bullock and asked him for a copy of the MOU with Grizzly Peak, and he told me he gave it to you. But
Yeah.
No,
apparently
I have made the request, and the only one that I have the copy of so far is one with BHA, which is what I just gave you, and I've got requests in with Grizzly Peak literally a week ago, and I followed up with them, but I don't have it back yet. What I would like, in the interest of time and for this discussion, I think our police have heard, hey, this is a concern, we need to do something. I think we agree that this falls under the public health and safety umbrella, prioritized. But what I would like is the blessings or thoughts of this council that, yes, we're okay putting back in place the MOU that was in place a couple of years ago that wasn't there, and then I'll find, and one of the responses I've got, by the way, is that there really wasn't something in writing, that it was just a verbal agreement, and that doesn't work for me. I want to have what the written agreement, but the secret to Josh's success was the vets know that we will make them whole, so they will not be in trouble for boarding an animal for 3 days. And that's a budgetary commitment, but as we look back over the last couple of years at the county, it's $2,000 and they haven't spent it, because generally the owner gets it out and pays the cost.
So, but we do want it with dispatch as well, because right now, I mean, it is true, if you find a dog and you call dispatch, they're like, where is it located?
But-
Say it's in the city, and they're like, well, we can't do anything, just put it out on Facebook. So
No,
we need
no,
that,
and so
we need that commitment
that's-
from them as well.
I'm not going to dispatch or having the chief go to dispatch
Right.
and basically tell them we have the same standing order as the county until after
No, I
I
get
know
that.
that you guys are gonna be
Yeah.
good with that.
I'm just saying, this would help that, so that people don't get that response anymore.
But
If
this
we-
agreement expired 2 years ago?
No,
with
that's,
BHA?
so we don't have one, which is why dispatch is giving the answer. So for me to re-sign this, I need a resolution from council that authorizes me to re-sign an updated version of this agreement.
Okay,
And possibly something in writing with the vet clinics, which has yet to be produced.
so we'll start with, updating that MOU.
Well, I'll
No.
have them do it. You guys just come in a resolution that says
Right,
the mayor can sign the MOU with BHA and Vet X and Vet Y and direct staff to, notify dispatch that basically we're on parity with the county is really what the goal is.
Perfect. Now, I do want to, on our,
And there are some limitations up. So if you have aggressive dogs, there's like a catch pole, there's training, there's a bunch of stuff there that we aren't really equipped to do. Now, one of the things that Josh has indicated to me in our conversation is if we get to this level and we need to call them in, they will be available and come work with us just as they are with all the others.
and we are with them.
Yeah, so one of the, but we need to be stepping up to the plate before they cover for us. The other thing that came up was a conversation about, vehicles, if there's a point where it is okay and it's safe and an officer is comfortable, and remember that, they get to make that call real time.
yeah.
If an officer is comfortable picking up an animal and transporting them, then we have another couple of vehicles. My understanding is there's a Blazer here that's like one of the older retired cars, and then there was one that Mike had down at Public Works. And I'm okay if because my conversation with him is, do we have a truck with a cab on it that could be used to transfer a dog if necessary? And what we actually have is an older retired vehicle that, and so what they may have to do is go pick up a different vehicle to go get the dog or something. But those are some
Yeah,
logistics
I think that would,
we
I mean,
figure
it
out.
would be great if we had an animal control officer, but we don't, and I don't really necessarily, if we don't have the equipment to, safely transport animals,
And
I just don't want to put our officers in danger
absolutely.
of, dog bites or, I mean.
Worse.
Or worse, yeah, just to get a dog to, I don't know.
What happens if you tase a dog?
they tip over.
Do they get back up?
Yeah, we had a call one time where we took, it was a domestic violence call, and as soon as the door came open, one of my guys was charged by a pit bull. And I don't know. Yeah. He decided to tase the dog.
As opposed to shoot it.
As opposed to shooting it, which he was fully justified in doing.
Yeah.
And I was actually amazed at how well it worked, because tasers, it seems like, don't work on, we have to use them on persons. It just seems like they constantly fail. I'm not a fan of the taser, but, the dog tipped over and then got it. And it was a serious situation as it was happening, but the dog tipped over. It took a 5-second train ride, and then, got up and split. So.
Then, once was good, I'm good, I'm trained.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the most effective e-collar that money can buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do work. There's other avenues we can take aside from tasing a dog, because like I say, tasers fail. The last thing I want to have to do is shoot a dog. That'd be terrible.
I mean, for all sorts of reasons, you're probably within city limits, there's stuff behind it, there's all sorts of reasons you want to do
Yeah,
that.
I guess I just want to not turn our police really necessarily into animal control officers where they're having to constantly go pick up dogs and take them to the vet clinic.
So that's, I mean, in fairness, that's the conversation we're having.
I
Are loose dogs, particularly if they're dangerous dogs, a public health and safety issue?
They are.
They are.
That's
Is
totally
public health and
different.
safety a responsibility of local government?
It is.
It absolutely is. And so it's not in our budget to get a full-time, nor do I think there's enough of it that's there. But even if we go get a catch stick, even if we have training,
that's what I'm.
we're not gonna train 8 officers on that.
No.
We're gonna train 1, and what happens if, he's there, not, you know what I'm saying? There's all sorts of some logistics of how do we afford to provide this service
Well,
that
a
is
lot
an
of that-
appropriate service for us to provide.
Curious who would draw the short straw for that training.
I know. I
think
guess,
it'd be you.
I guess right now,
We have a couple people that volunteer.
Yeah, I love dogs. I don't like dealing with aggressive dogs.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
not-
No,
nobody
I
does.
mean, I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is I think we need the tools in place
Yeah.
before we just send our officers out and say, go pick up these dogs. Or
For
go,
the
you know,
for the most part, I would say they're non-aggressive.
And
It's one of the dogs around here, you can open up your back door of your patrol car and they'll just jump in.
Mine
Yeah.
would.
And this, like I said,
Oh,
that's why,
right.
that's what I want to get this in, and the significant thing that
Yeah.
this brings is there's a potential that we may spend $500 to $1,000 a year for vets to home animals in the event that the owner isn't found and doesn't pay to get their dog out of vet.
Consider, I would probably go up to 2,000,
Okay.
just because.
And we'll
We have
build
a
it in.
lot of dogs in Red Lodge, and compared to the county, you have your farm and the dog runs around and they don't usually,
And like I said, we didn't build it in as a specific line item this year, there's 500.
Right.
But I've added it as a note as let's spend something that's in there, but I'd like to get these, like I said, the purpose of this call was, if you guys are okay with doing this, I'll move this forward so we can have it for council to talk and review the agreements next time, and then so
And
so
to
4
me,
weeks from now, we could have it in place.
I am also viewing this as a service too, because right now, if you find a dog, there's
It goes
nothing
on
you can
Facebook.
do. It just goes on Facebook. And it's really frustrating for, people who find dogs running around and they can't find the owner.
And they're worried about them being hit by a car.
Yeah, so it is a public health and safety, but it's also a service. And because we're, as a city, making that dog safe by taking it to the vet, I feel that,
One of
You know.
one of the things that I want the public to remember too is, if you see a dog, like, say you're on Fifth and Hauser, who's just walking across the street, doesn't appear to be in distress, looks
Yeah.
comfortable, stuff
He's
like that.
walking home.
He is more than likely walking home. Please stop picking them up.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with calling us and letting us know, but.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with calling us and calling dispatch and letting them know, but like picking them up, taking them home, taking them out of probably their element because they were walking to their house right there and you
Yeah.
snatch them like a little
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just be cognizant of that. Now, if the dog is in distress and like.
or chasing cats or animal,
chasing
deer,
cats or-
barking at people.
That's just basic dog instinct.
It is,
It's
but-
prey drive, and they.
I know.
They
So
That's
as
what they
you
do.
guys review the ordinances that are
Take
in place,
it
is
hard.
there anything there that you thought needs to be changed, or can we fix our current posture just by
I
getting
looked
these
at animal
agreements in place?
control, chapter 5 of the municipal code, and it keeps saying in here that something about goats, which are not allowed in the city limits. Planning and zoning did allow for horses and mules, but not goats. So I think this is gonna need to be changed to coincide with the zoning to start with. This whole thing,
Oh, so I don't have to go and take goats.
yeah, exactly.
I've owned goats before, and I will never own them again, so.
Yeah,
Let's
so,
get the goats out of there.
and I noticed that 5A1, responsibility of owner, says, let me read this long sentence, it shall be the duty of every person owning or keeping domestic animals within the limits of the city to provide for the keeping of the same within or upon his, her premises at all times, save when necessarily or temporarily passing through the streets, and then such animals must be attended by someone to take care of them and prevent their doing damage to person or property. What do you mean attended? Don't they have to be leashed? Attended?
Yeah, we have a lease. I mean,
And furthermore, our lease says that an e-collar and voice control is not positive control for,
no, we have a lease law. They're supposed to be.
Well, I'm
on-
just-
Does that say attend to, does that specifically speak to canines, or is it?
It says keeping domestic animals.
Okay, yeah,
And
so that
then
could.
there is a
maybe-
definition for, domestic animals. There's dangerous dog. There is no definition of domestic animal.
Animal that lives at home.
so I look to council for that to see what you guys wanna change it. But anytime you can take our ordinances and make them take half the space they currently take, my 2 cents is that's probably a good thing.
Well, and we talked about this before, but we do need to address, like hoarding of animals, especially cats, feral cat colonies feeding, so
Has
we can.
the situation on Hagen gotten better or worse?
I have not heard
There's,
from anyone there.
I think there's one cat, maybe two, because I live on Hagen.
Yeah.
Between 14th and 15th, and I've only seen one that looks like it's feral.
We have a colony down there that we captured 30 a night a couple of different times and fixed them and returned them and rehoused them.
And
to barns
it's made a
and
big
stuff.
difference.
It has, but they breed like cats, and so they catch up again very
Rapid.
quickly, so.
Rapid.
So we improved the situation, yes. Has it been eradicated? No. And I know in that particular case, actually, it was prosecuted, it was,
I know.
and so we already have those things in place, but,
I was a case officer on that one, it's definitely a first for me.
There were,
I know.
and that was the
there
concern.
were 30, I mean, honestly, they were all over the
Is there something that we could
place.
put in our ordinance that would have made that case easier to deal with?
It violated public health and safety laws.
Okay,
But that's what you're,
yeah, is there
Yeah.
something else, though, in our animal ordinance
I think
that we could actually add to this, that would have given it more teeth to make it go faster?
potentially, I think that we were pretty well covered prosecution last time under what we had on the books.
Okay,
And it seems, now that I hear that, it seems a heck of a lot better
okay.
than it was last year.
is, how much of that case history in that case is publicly available, such that if council wanted to go through and look at that and see which ordinances were cited and?
If they were officially charged through the, city police department, it is a public record. That's how a lot of times the newspaper gets articles. is
Right.
They look at the court docs, and they see who was charged for what, and then my phone starts ringing, so.
Do
Okay,
you, and that was charged and it went, so we would have a police, can we get a copy of what's available to that to Jody?
Like in terms of like the case, or in terms of just the charge that was put forward?
I think the charge would probably indicate which codes were specifically cited and used.
As
That's
soon as I
pretty
step back,
much all the information we need.
as soon as I
Yeah.
step out of here, I'll, send out an email to the group and let
That
you know
would
what
be
the
great.
charge was.
Yeah, I just really, I guess that's my only concern is is there something we can do to give it more teeth to make things move faster, or is it just the wheels of justice always move slow and, because, I mean, the big
They
complaint
do,
was,
but we just wanna make sure that the ordinance is there to do.
right, yeah, it just, our biggest complaint was, dead cats in the snow.
Yeah, and 5584 is about offensive premises. It says, anyone who shall, within the city limits, keep or maintain any pen, enclosure, stable, or building for horses, mules, bulls, goats, there's goats again, or any other animal in such a filthy or unsanitary condition so as to be offensive to neighbors,
That's what it was. Yep.
offensive to neighbors or persons, or injurious to the health of the neighborhood, shall-
Right.
but nothing about the health of the animals. So I think that we need to add in there.
So I don't
For the health of the
mean to be
animal.
crass, and we are a town of animal lovers, but when you come back to what is the role of government and our responsibility, we are responsible for the public health and safety of the humans. I don't know that we have a responsibility to, society-wise, we have a responsibility for animals, and there's animal cruelty
Mhm.
stuff that's out there. Do we have any city animal cruelty that you're aware of?
We
or
charge,
just the
my
state?
guys charge state code for that.
So, yeah, animal cruelty is gonna be covered by state code.
Yeah,
So you don't want health of animals in there?
I don't
That's
wanna,
covered.
I don't,
It's already
I
covered
don't
under
want
state
local
code.
government to assume that,
No.
because I don't believe that's
Well,
something that's
and-
defined as our
Well,
responsibility.
I gotta get goats out of there again, because they're not legal.
That's the educational chickens, I think, is all that's allowed if it's.
No, it's-
less than 5
Yeah,
acres.
educational
it
chickens.
just says it's declared unlawful nuisance for any hogs,
If they can
cattle, sheep,
count.
swine, goats, chickens, turkeys, goats, geese, and other domestic fowls to be kept within the city of Red Lodge.
City itself has a turkey problem.
Yeah, I know, it's like, who takes it, and I'm like, yeah, we've got turkeys, go get rid
Okay,
of
so
them.
I think I have what to prepare for this. The chief is gonna send out the information on the one, and just to see if there's something that needs to be revisited. I do wanna lose some time to talk about the snow one too, so
Yeah.
are we good on
Okay.
this?
Yeah,
Well,
I think that we know where we're supposed to go.
I do wanna bring up that I get lots and lots of feedback from people who would like to have, be able to have chickens.
I've heard that too, and I
So-
know a lot of them that actually do.
So I don't know, everybody says, oh, the bears, it will cause a problem because we have chickens, but
It'll
we have,
attract a fear.
but we have turkeys, so what's
Yeah,
the,
chickens are not loose.
Well,
Like, chickens are in a
raccoons,
pen, they could easily get to them.
raccoons are the biggest chicken thieves,
Yes, they
Yeah.
more
are.
so than bears.
And
Yeah,
they can
that's
get in
right.
through the enclosure, and then you have a bunch of dead chickens.
well,
And
that's-
if council wants to revisit the animal ordinances, you can go into code and search for animal, because my recollection is it was, if it's 5 acres or less, there's no hooved animals, and the only thing that's allowed the only livestock or anything was
Horses
chickens
and
for
mules.
education purposes.
Yeah,
right, but
horses,
that's,
mules, and chickens that are educated.
right, but chickens are not hooked, so, I mean,
No, but-
you
but-
could-
We only allow, according to zoning, horses and mules, and their foals. That's it, in the city limits.
And education.
No cattle, yeah, chickens for educational purposes, because the high school,
Right, yeah,
That's it.
no, I know, but it doesn't mean that council can't revisit it and decide.
That's,
No,
that's what I'm saying, you
yeah,
guys,
and,
you guys
and we'll
can
bring it up,
revisit
we'll
it.
bring it up tonight at council, to revisit the chickens.
Well, you don't have to bring it up tonight, I mean, we
Well,
can,
just
we
have
can
people
talk
think
about,
about it,
okay,
they can think about it, okay.
okay.
So the ice,
You can do a quick straw poll to find out if people are interested in
should
pursuing
we
it or not.
pursue it or not?
Because if it's just you, there's no point going down that way.
And honestly, I don't care, I'm not gonna go get chickens, so I just
It'll be
saying,
money.
people want a
All
lot
right,
of.
so let me tell you the problem that I have with the snow removal. So, went to the Business Alliance, we got some feedback, and it was a little bit stinging, in part because of how it was delivered, but it was also stinging because it was accurate. And one of the things it was, hey, the city needs to do their part to make sure that we are enforcing snow. Now, the question, or what I would offer is that there is a difference if we're talking about downtown versus if we're talking to residents. If I have somebody over here who doesn't go out and shovel the snow in front of their walk until 10 o'clock the next day, who really cares? However,
We don't have an ordinance against residences unless they're
No,
on Byway.
my understanding is it's the same ordinance for residences as it is for businesses, is what
No,
I read.
it just covers Broadway from one street to a different street.
I think it covers the whole town.
Everybody's responsible for removing their own snow, maintaining their own sidewalks,
Really?
maintaining their,
Yeah.
yeah. And,
That's
but
not how
I
I read
think
that,
the
so I'll
downtown,
have
so
to
the
reread
concern that
that.
I have with the downtown, we do have the ability to, do something similar to what we have for grass, where
Yeah,
somebody
you're
can
right.
report it.
Yeah, it's just downtown.
Well, no, it's for any commercial zone districts, for, any property being used for commercial purpose,
Okay,
any multifamily residential development with 3 or more dwellings to, a lot, which are very few,
Yeah.
frankly. Any property adjoining Highway 212 or 78, and the paved multi-use path along Highway 212. So, those are the only ones.
Yeah, so
Areas that
it's not-
require snow removal from sidewalks include.
okay. So
Yeah, I was gonna say.
here's the ask that I would like council to look at and consider. Right now, it can't work the way grass does, where at 10 o'clock the next day, we send you a letter, and in 2 weeks, we come and clear the snow and send you a bill.
Too late.
I would like that to be and then it talks about first offense is a warning, second
Right.
offense is 100, 200, 300. What I would like that to be is clear that up so that it says, in addition, the cost of getting it removed, and that'll be put on taxes. Because what I'd like to do is I'd prefer not to have our police be the snow enforcement officers while they're also being the dog enforcement officers. What I would rather do is outsource this to somebody who's gonna come along and look at it and say, at 10 o'clock after the morning, you're allowed to go down through there. If you see one, call the police, they will issue a citation, you clear the snow, send us a bill, and we're putting it on them. And so that they, and I think as soon as they get the bill that's going on their taxes and a ticket or two, then that problem gets solved. But what I don't see in that ordinance, that code as I read it, was, I just think it should be, we have the ability to respond immediately, because even if it's 2 days, it's now walked down in ice and it's
Yeah.
not good. I would
You're
like
out there
to
with an ice
see,
chipper.
I would like to see, if it is deemed a safety hazard, which may well be an officer making that call, yep, that's dangerous, go ahead and plow it, but then they're done. Because right now, as I read that, there's a whole awful lot of workload that's actually on the police officers. And what I want to do is have somebody that, I don't know if we deputize them or what, that goes out and says, that snow is, if it's deeper than this, or it's I want there to be some condition that says, we will take care of it and you will pay for it.
If it could be deemed.
Well, here's the problem with this whole thing. It says in the event that a property owner, tenant, or document does not remove snow and ice in violation of the provisions of this ordinance within 24 hours of issuance of written warning. Now, how are you gonna issue that warning? Are you gonna mail it to them?
No,
It's gotta be written. I was gonna say, if I have real-time information about a hazard, we can
Written-
jump on it right away and
Written
issue
warning,
that.
written
Yes.
warning. So
We have written warnings.
yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
and how are you gonna deliver it to the owner if they're closed for the winter, like the, fly shop, the fish shop?
Oh, we're very good at getting hold of people.
yeah.
But I'm saying if you can't
I'll
get a
scan
hold,
and email it
you're
to
gonna
them.
mail it, if you mail it, there's 5 days.
Well, you can email it to them.
No, so, but my
Have you
question
are
is,
going
what
to-
I would like
this
that, in
doesn't-
addition to that warning, I would like the authority to cause for it to be cleaned, and we're gonna send it to
It
them.
says the city
So-
may cause the removal of the snow and ice in the best practicable manner, and shall charge the cost of such snow and ice removal to the owner of said property.
But when do I get to do that?
The amount billed to the owner shall be due and payable in the city within 30 days of billing. It shall include the full cost of the removal, along with the administrative costs to effect said removal. If payment's not received by the city, amount shall be certified by the city clerk to the Carbon County treasurer to be collected.
If,
Okay, but do I
Additionally-
get to do that on the first, do I get to
Yes,
do that on the
after,
first
within
warning?
24 hours of issuance. If they haven't,
Yeah,
you
if they
give
get
them
a
a
warning.
warning, they've
Okay,
got
what I'm
24
saying,
hours.
I don't wanna have to wait 24 hours.
Well, you gotta give it time to, go ahead.
If we amend the ordinance and say that if the issue or safety risk is time sensitive, we can forego a written warning and handle it as we see fit.
That's what I want. If it's gonna, because 24 hours
You know-
later, it's not gonna be
No.
packed ice and it's gone until spring.
But, okay, no, Dave, you can still remove ice. When I first moved into the Kibler and Kirch building, they hadn't shoveled at all. And it was a total, I mean, it had 5 inches of ice on the sidewalk in front of it.
You gotta get-
And I got the boys out there and me with ice picks and we got it off there.
And you
You
chip it off.
Yeah, you chip it off and you get
And you
sunny
use the-
days and you get out there and you just keep at it.
And you,
So it's not like
and
a
you
till
dig the
spring
crap out
thing.
of the sidewalk.
But it, well, no, it's
Well, no,
ice.
you scrape the sidewalk, you don't dig the sidewalk.
Well, you kind of pound that, but
You-
I said,
you
but
do, but-
it can take days and you're waiting for the sun.
Well, I know, but it's not like, you need to give them a warning and let them go out there and do it. I mean, you can't just say, I mean,
There were repeat offenders on Broadway.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
I understand who they are. One of the biggest offenders has since sold, the building, if I remember correctly.
Which one?
I think we all know who he is. He was between 13th and 14th on the, west side of Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that building has since been sold, and that was one of the constant ones that we would be made aware of. There's
yeah.
never had a complaint on yours. I've never had you know what I mean? It's so.
Yeah, the one, the soda hole when they were empty, it's the ones who are closed up over the winter or are gone for,
Those are the hard ones.
it's like they forget that they
It's
still have this
nice.
responsibility
Yeah.
to maintain their sidewalk even though they're closed.
And there's no shortage of.
I would like to send out a letter to every business along Broadway that I'm
Yes.
gonna craft together and put a letter, but what I wanna be able to know is what we're able to do, and like I said, to me, if we give you a warning, and then 24 hours later, then we can do something about it, I just think of the times when we've had to go out and do something prior to that.
I think that we have to give them time. If they're out of town and they have to contact somebody to do it for them, they need the 24 hours.
Yeah, but wait a second. Like Dave's saying, if you tell people in advance, hey, listen, winter's coming up, you're responsible for removing your own snow. If you don't, we'll have it removed and send you the bill. I don't think we need to wait and give all this notice.
No, you just, but, in our ordinance right now, the first offense is a warning. So you give them a warning, they have 24 hours to remove the snow,
Yeah, but,
and then, if they still don't, then you
but,
remove it
but
for
I'm
them.
saying his letter he sends out in advance, there's your warning.
No,
It's a
no,
warning that's tied into an offense,
offense,
though.
so,
is-
yeah, you can't, that's just letting you know that we're going to enforce it. And our warning is saying it's, 24 hours after the cessation of the snow, you haven't removed it. Yeah, I mean, you can, as long as you're out there trying to remove it, because when we get 5 feet of snow, it may take me 2 days to remove the snow. So,
As if you do a pat, you can do a pat through
And
it.
it only needs to be a 36-inch wide strip.
It does, yes,
It doesn't say that in there.
it does, somewhere, it says it in our
That's
ordinance.
probably state law
I'm
that
looking at the
dictates
ordinance.
that.
It says that in there, I just read it the other day. Because it's in the business part where you have to
Okay.
keep 36 inches and you can't put it out in the street, you have to put it on the snow berm.
And there's another lie. People put it out in the street all the time.
Well, no, you put it out on the berm where the state
Right.
has,
So,
And that's
we'll
out in the
we'll address that in it too, so,
Yeah, I like the idea of sending a letter, especially to the ones that we know.
no, I will
No, you
send it to everybody, I'm not
yeah.
picking
No, I know, I
anything.
said
Yeah.
Not
especially
profiling.
for the
No,
ones
but-
that are repeat offenders.
And if council says, no, what you have is sufficient, I'm happy to
I
do
know.
our best
And-
to enforce that from that, and
and
if you guys just
I,
want.
I just have a quick question. I mean, what in that ordinance do you want us to add? Because it has the warning in there, it has the 24 hours, it has the ability to remove it, it has the ability to attach it to the taxes. What more do you want us to add to
me,
it?
what I wanted, the thing that I think I would see differently is that if it is deemed to be a safety hazard and we've attempted to notify you, we will remove it right then. We don't wait 24 hours, we don't. I just want the ability to solve the problem rather than waiting until somebody slips and falls on it and then solving the problem.
I just don't think it's fair to say, oh, look, it's a safety hazard, we're gonna go ahead and clear it for you, and then they find it on their, then they get a bill for it. It's like, well, you never even gave me a chance to.
But, and can we do, I didn't read that the first time that we could do it on the warning. I almost felt like it was,
No, 24 hours. Because, now it says written warning, could we say written or hand-delivered?
It's the same thing.
no, written warning is a legal definition, let's stick with that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you write out
So
the
just
warning
not
and
a
hand deliver.
warning.
You can either hand deliver it
Do
or
you
you
think
can.
that written warning is okay for email too?
Yeah,
It's written.
yeah, yeah, as long as you can do a read receipt.
Typed.
And what about, I guess we can't call them, because there's no record.
No,
We can,
you can call them.
we can make a record of it.
Yeah.
And it's-
Yeah, they log it. Now,
So we'll call that a written warning,
No,
if he just calls?
The warnings could be anything from verbal, typed, written.
This says
Email.
written warning, that's what I'm saying.
We have.
And if you're out of town, the answer is you should have somebody who lives, now, I'll be back in town next week and I'm gonna do it. If you're out of town, you hire somebody to fulfill your responsibility.
Yeah. And I know that.
And I'm back to public health and safety is a job of local government.
There is no shortage of snow removal companies in the area, too.
no.
No, but they're kind of busy when you really need them.
That's true.
Well,
That's
and
the
that's
problem.
one of the other things is, I think, but that's what those businesses, that if we get somebody from the city to come in and do it, if we call out and do it, one of the things that is going to be part of that requirement is you jump. So it's kind of like the tall grasses. Hi, the tall grass, great, we'll get to it in August. No, the deadline's June. If you can't get, or July 1, if you can't get to it within 2 weeks of being notified,
Right.
we'll go to a different company who can.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about when we do get, the 3-foot or the 4-foot snow dumps? And, I mean, there are people who contract out with companies, and when that happens, they're so busy, they don't always get downtown right away either. I mean,
Say one more time?
okay, if I contract with a local snow removal company, and they get 4 or 5 feet, and they're out plowing roads, and sidewalks is their bottom of their priority list,
Then you
and,
have the wrong company for that. Get one of the other people that will prioritize. I'll give you an example of that. The reason we're not gonna do it from the city and send you a bill is our responsibility is more important. We're making sure people get to the hospital, ambulances can get out, fire
Right.
engines can get out, people can get to school. That's why, if we were doing it, we would outsource it to somebody, but part of the agreement is, we want this on the top of your list.
no, and I get that, but the city doesn't even shovel their sidewalks in that timely fashion. So I think we've gotta make sure we're,
Please advise where we're not, because most of ours are done at 7 o'clock on that morning. That's the first thing that happens.
I've heard
Yeah.
complaints like, sidewalks around parks and stuff aren't always plowed right away. Like around the skate park and stuff, they're
Okay.
covered in snow and ice and they don't get plowed.
Again, there has to be priorities.
So,
Nobody's
and I
gonna be
don't
in
know
the
if we're,
skate park.
I don't know if we're, contracting that out, if we're doing it ourselves or
That
what.
we have a person, so that is the
Okay.
one that we pay for.
So I guess,
Resort tax.
yeah, I mean, if we're going, as a city, I just feel if we're going to start really enforcing this, which I want the city to do, we just need to make sure we're also holding up our end.
That's a fair counter. I have no problem with that.
Okay.
I think that we're a minute or
We're
two
way
early.
late, 'cause where's the next meeting?
Here,
Right here,
Doug and I, and Chris will be here in a minute.
and I get to leave, and Chief gets to leave, and... Thank you, meeting
I have no work
adjourned.
news from there. I'll work with you on both of those things outside of this. We just didn't get together between, because it's an 8 o'clock meeting, so.
Anybody who's bored on, Saturday the 2nd, we're setting up all the crosses and dog tags for the veterans at the hospital at noon.
2nd of November?
Saturday the 2nd at noon. And I have 13 crosses that I've painted in my car. I'm gonna take them over to Al, who gets to put all the hardware on them. And my lettering should be in the office. I didn't see it, damn it. It's supposed to
And
be here.
I helped him with that last year too, so if we need help, let me know.
Oh, with the fixing of the cross
And so the crosses are going up on the 2nd of November.
at noon.
Do you want an announcement?
Sure. We have 15 new ones, so, or,
Yeah.
hey, Chelsea. Good morning. Good morning. See you guys tonight.
And
Yep.
which group is that? That's Rotary?
Rotary. Today. And it's a Heroes Project.
All right, nobody's here to end and start the minutes meeting, so let me start this one. Sean, we're gonna end this meeting, we'll start the next one up, sir. You can get to that link from online as well.
Okay.